Good morning. So now that I've got the van back, I need to get moved in, which means I sort of need to prioritise the stuff that needs done. The priorities are going to be getting the flue in, so I can have the fire and keep warm in here. It's going to be getting the water system working and getting the hobs in so that I can cook. And then the other one is getting the storage space so that I can actually have food in here. It's not going to take much, just need handles on them and a latch. Sorry it's dark in here but it keeps raining. The weather's just been a nightmare. But this is going to be my first mission. Basically I need to have the gas in the back because that doesn't need change that often, and then the water container here. Because of where the gas is going to sit, I think the pump will be in the way because the gas tank is taller. I'm going to get it in and have a look, but there's a chance I might want to move the pump onto this wall. Not sure, we'll have a see. Something that I've done, which isn't in this video, but it's something I needed to install now because it would be a nightmare later. These are two 25mm square cables, and these are going to run my battery to battery charger, which is a device you can use instead of a split charge relay. It gives off a lot more power and is a lot healthier for the batteries. Those two are coming through from the cab to the back of the van. I've done that now because I'm going to have to strap them up and then, you know, build around that space. So it's better to have them in now than it is to try and feed them in later. So I'm going to lift the gas tank in, see where it's sitting, see how it's looking, and see if I'm going to have to adjust anything. And then I need to make some sort of strap that's going to hold the gas tank in place. So there's usually a leg there, but I've decided just to completely take it off and put it there while I work in here because it was doing my head in. Anyway, what I've done is I've just went and moved the pump. The reason I had to move the pump is because of course the water bottle is going to be further away, it's going to be over here, and this hose wasn't going to reach, whereas now this will go to the bottom of the water container, no problem at all. So basically what I'm going to do is that beam, I'm going to put a loop into that and then a hook on this wall, maybe actually two loops on this wall and a hook, so that then I can get a bungee cord that goes through one of the hoops, down through the other and across. So basically the container itself will have like a triangle of bungee that goes across it to keep it in place. That's what I'm going to do to secure that in the corner, because then I can just unhook it from the bungee and that'll be fine. So that's going to go there, and then the regulator will clip on. The hose will have to run up this wall, probably cut a piece through this plywood, but then that gas feed is going to run along into the counter, and it's actually just going to come up straight through the counter next to the burner. The burner has a point where the gas connects, but you can angle it, so I'm going to angle it down, I'm going to go straight through the counter and then feed it all the way through. I mean, that's the plan. I've just stuck a bit of foam against the back there, that's where it presses against, so on bumpy roads that's going to dampen that. So there's a hook there, put my bungee cord on it, the bungee cord comes around the neck of the bottle, down one hoop, down for another, and I've got the other end, I've shortened it, and then that hook's on there and locks that into place. The only thing I'm probably going to need to do is get some of that cable protecting ducting stuff and wrap that stretch there just so that this isn't rubbing on it. I don't want it to eat through the housing of the cable and expose that. So that's ready to be installed and connected to the burner, but before I do that I'm going to sort out these cupboards and this drawer so they've got handles and latches and stuff. Unfortunately it's done a bit of warping while it's been away for a few months that it has. It's not going to matter though because I'm going to make latches that hold that flush. I'm thinking just a big loop of rope here. It's going to need to be quite strong to be able to pull. I wanted a bit of driftwood or something, but it's not particularly strong. And with the weight that's going to be in that, I need something that I can just really yank on. So I'm just going to put two holes in, put rope through, tie knots on the other side. These probably have little handles. I've got a wee selection of them somewhere. I'm just going to drill through in 2 points and then use a bit of this rope to feed through. So I just need a drill bit that's as wide as that, which I might not have. And I'm just going to make a loop of rope that's tied on both sides of here. Now it's worth noting when you're pulling and there's going to be a lot of weight on it, it wouldn't make sense having the handle really high up. Although it might look better up there, it's not going to be the best place for it. Really I want it in line with the top of this piece of wood because this is screwed in. So that's where all my structure's coming from. It might seem a bit strange that I'm focused on food storage before I even have a cooker and running water. But at the moment I've got all of my food under the bed, which is filling that space, the garage, which means I can't do any electrics, and I need to fit a battery to battery charger. So I really need that space cleared. And the best way to do that is going to be by putting it away in here. So I've just put a bit of rope in for that. And I was like, I need handles for this. And then I remembered that Brett made me some ages ago. So I'm gonna have a little peace symbol. And then we through your life. Haha, fuck yes. Attach these little things to the underside of this, like that. The only problem being that where you put the screws in, it's already like hanging off the wood, because obviously the door comes completely flush, which means that this little piece will be on the door and it has to come here, which will be flush with that, which means the entirety of these little wheels need to be behind, just behind this piece of wood here. And when I do that, there's nothing for them to screw into. So what I'm going to do is just cut a piece of wood and attach it to the back of that, just a little square in the middle, so that then I can attach them on, and then they will latch shut, and then that is literally the kitchen storage done. Sorry if my head was in the way in a lot of that time lapse, but that's the first one on. And it's good as well, because this one was actually staying away from the wood, like it wasn't meeting properly. But now I've fit it and it clicks in, it's like completely flush, it doesn't move at all. But basically the way these work, you get this little bit that goes on the door. So the first thing I did was close the door, run a pencil along the back on this line here, so that you know where it needs to marry up for the clip. And then you put that on. You can go anywhere along the door, but obviously near the end the better really. Then I clicked this other part onto that and then closed the door, so that I could see with the positioning of this. And then I marked the first hole for the first screw and screwed that in. Now on these, you'll notice that the screw holes have got a bit of length. That's so that you can shuffle them back and forwards, because they're likely going to need adjusted once you put them in. So once the first one was in, I did a check that the door actually closed and was meeting these sprung wheel thingies. And then I put the other screw in. It is actually right on the edge of this piece of wood. And not touching this piece of wood at all. What would probably happen is the very edge of this piece of wood here would actually split away, but because this is screwed on, it'll actually be pinching it all together and keeping it. So taking that off would be pointless, especially because it doesn't affect the drawer, it's not in the way. So I'm just going to leave it. So once this was screwed in lightly, I had to adjust the back and forth position on this to make sure that the door was closing properly, and then I tightened them up. Anyway, that's how you install one of them. I'm going to get the other one on the other door now. Then that'll actually be this entire section completely finished. Well, it's all done now. Got the drawer opening, and then 2 latches. Because they're so close, the doors, they open each other, but I kind of like that. Works well. Thankfully, it's made them meet at the bottom because they were kind of biting each other a bit. So, even though I feel like I needed to sand that down to stop them rubbing, the fact that they meet each other and rub a little bit is what causes them both to jump open when I open it. So I'm inclined not to fix it, because it's kind of handy. I like it. Done, absolutely done. Next is probably getting the burner on. Now, it's a camping stove, which says on it not to use indoors, but that's kind of the way it goes. To get one that you can use indoors would be a household one, which also doesn't suit being in a van. So I'm going to use a camping stove because I used it in my last van and I had it for 3 years and never had any problems whatsoever. So the only thing I'm wondering is about the heat that goes underneath. From experience with the last van, it's not a lot at all, but I don't know if it would be enough heat to cause that lacquer to bubble up and stuff. So you've probably noticed in my vlogs by now that a lot of what you're watching is me brainstorming what the hell I'm doing. And hopefully that's not a bad thing, because a lot of these van builds are like straight up tutorials. Here's the tools you'll need, here's how you do it. But realistically, when you're actually building a van, it's a bit more kind of chaotic and in the moment. And I'm hoping that in showing my whole process, it shows that you can hit roadblocks, but there's often ways around it, and often very easy ways around it. And it's just taking the time to recognise, usually for me, what went wrong and how you could change it. And I mean, at the moment, everything's coming together and working, so I must have an idea of what I'm doing. And this is a point, you know, a lot of people message and they're like, oh, I haven't got skills to build a van. I haven't got skills to build a van. I've never done carpentry. None of these edges are straight. Everything is kind of wonky. The screws all over the place. Hopefully it inspires you a little bit into recognizing that you shouldn't doubt yourself really, because until you start doing it, you don't know what you're capable of, and it's just breaking everything down into tiny little chunks, isn't it? You can certainly achieve a lot more in life if you don't allow stuff to overwhelm you, if you recognise the goal that you're aiming for, but the steps that it's going to take to get there, and just break them into that. I mean, today I thought I need to drill 2 holes and put a bit of rope through. You know, that's kind of how it started, and I thought I can do that, you know, that's not too hard. I'm looking at them now, I'm thinking they're not straight. But it doesn't matter. And then it just feeds on. Then you get a bit of a dopamine hit, you get a bit of encouragement that actually you can do stuff. Before you know it, you've got 2 latch and cupboard doors on, and then next I should have a stove on, and it just keeps going from there, you know, little steps. Because it does get overwhelming. I've got a to-do list here, and that is not the list. That's like each of those items, some of them, they could have their own list. Don't lose hope and don't doubt yourself, that's what I would say. Because during this I have doubted myself and I have lost hope, and it only slows things down and makes you realise, what was I scared of, you know, realistically. If you cut a piece of wood wrong, then the worst case is you have to buy another piece of wood and cut it again. But you won't cut it wrong twice if you have to pay for wood, which I haven't been. I mean, honestly, the whole kitchen is reclaimed, everything, all of this. Obviously not the stove. Yeah, I would encourage, if you're going to build a van, reach out to people, do some social media stuff, send out the feelers, try find out who's got spare wood, because there will be people and you never know what will come your way. Like that day the whole shed landed in the garden and was going to get burnt. That was a good day. Anyway, I'm rambling and I'm going to crack on because it's probably going to be dark in half an hour, because it gets dark at like 2:30. So this is the burner I've got. So yeah, the hose, I'm going to drill a hole and it's going to go straight down and then along that back wall and into the gas tank in there. I think I need to prop it up, is what I'm going to do. It's going to give me that height, it's going to reduce the heat that it dissipates underneath, which isn't a lot, but it's enough for me to be a little bit concerned. So I basically need to build legs or a frame. The thing to keep in mind is that food and stuff falls in this gap and falls underneath. So however I attach this, I'm going to definitely want to be able to remove it, to be able to get to the space underneath to clean up whatever's in there. Ideally, I wish I had an oven tray that was like, you know, the exact size of the inside of that could sit in the base of it and catch all the stuff, and I could take that and clean it. So the question is, how am I going to raise this up without it looking naff? I'm going to have to go to the drawing board on that one. None of this is screwed together yet, but it gives you an idea of kind of what I'm doing. These don't get hot, they just carry the gas to here. So the only hot bits are here and here. And by using this wood, you know, I'm going to be raising this off of the counter by about 1.5 inches. So I've cut these 4 edges, avoiding this pipe as well. Again, doesn't get hot. So I'm going to go ahead and screw these edges together, and I'll have a box that then I can attach to the counter, and then this will just sit on top of this. And I don't think it'll need attached because it's like so tightly positioned. I think it'll be like you kind of push it down and it'll click into place. But we'll see. I might put a couple bolts on or something. So I burnt and oiled it, as I always do. I made that first edge quite dark, because that's the edge that you're going to see as you look in the van. So it's to try and camouflage it underneath the burner, really. So it's going to have L brackets, and be screwed straight into the countertop. I'm just going to double check that the burner still fits on. So I've designed it to be quite a snug fit, so you have to push both edges at once. Because the idea is I don't want to move them while I'm driving. So as you can see, it all fits on. So now I just need to get the L brackets on the box underneath and bracket that down, and that'll actually be good to go. It's all screwed in, so burner on. Just need to drill a great big hole here, feed this tube down, connect it to the regulator and see if it all works. Unfortunately this drill bit's not as big as the hose, but we will see what happens. Hey! Fury, I should now be able to feed this down. So at the moment it's just, if you can see, coming out in the drawer. What I might do is make it so the hole goes like in that direction, so when the hose comes out it's already trying to go that way, rather than having the bend inside the drawer like that. But it's going to work for a test run, so it's just feeding out beside the drawer, comes through here next to the gas. I definitely don't need it that long, so I'll cut it, take that last 1.5 feet off. So I've just put the regulator on the end. I need to get one of those little clips, but I'll be alright for a wee test run. So push the button in the side, clicks on, turn it. So that is a pretty successful day. The butyl tape arrived today, but it is chucking it down tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday, but Sunday's weather looks okay, so I'm thinking Sunday I need to go up early and smash that, get that flue in. Shouldn't take too long. Anyway, that's me for today, because as you can tell it's pitch black and it's getting hard to see in here because I haven't got kitchen lights in yet. I'm shining all these ones at the kitchen, so sorry if the lighting's been really poor in this. Just try to do my best.